I really agree with Jordan Peterson on just about everything. There hasn't, as far as I can tell or remember, hasn't really been much I've disagreed with him on. He he's it's interesting because he's well thought. He thinks through his arguments, and he'll take, as he said in this interview, at least a week to think through a position or an idea. Um, I really respect this man on a profound level. He's aside from the intellectual side of things and the natural curiosity of the world and how he thinks through things and just in general thinks, I guess he he the way that he's able to explain things on various levels is absolutely beautiful and outstanding. Um, he's one of the only people I've listened to speak about a topic and go from and not being able to decipher some, very rarely not being able to decipher exactly what he has said um, on like hearing a sentence and then having no idea what that sentence means because it's actually has a complexity to it and then having to sit down and break it up a little bit. It's very rare that happens because most people speak plainly. I try to speak plainly with my ideas. And he does too. But the way that when he pinpoints something with such accuracy that he's able to use the smallest number of words possible to express a great idea, and it's so precise and pinpoint perfect. I don't remember exactly what the topic was. It had to do with the game theory, and the way that he broke down the way that he explained this idea in one sentence was just so. It took me several listens. I actually wrote it out and like mapped it out a little bit and tried to figure out exactly what it meant. But it was so perfect in execution, and there is no. It is the possibly the most precise sentence I've ever heard. And part of the problem was, not the problem, but part of the reason I had to type it out and listen to it a bunch to figure it out is because there are actually words I had never heard before, and that's really rare. I'm not exactly well read, but I listen. I listen a lot, and it was interesting. Anyway, I really like Jordan Peterson. And there's something I want to talk about in that he mentioned in the most recent Joe Rogan podcast that I think is absolutely spot on. Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson were postulating about the current state of the news. I guess Joe Rogan was more asking the question. And Jordan Peterson's response was, I think, dead on. Absolutely dead on. Where as the medium dies, the 6-minute slot, where you just try to get your point across and try to yell at the other person, all that crap. As that dies, and the long form interview, like these podcasts and what Joe Rogan does and Dave Rubin, as those sort of blossom and come about, there's a real more outrageous ideas have to be shown on the smaller format because you gotta get these watches. You gotta be able to pay advertisement, or you gotta be able to bring in advertisers. And the only way to do that is to have the views. And the only way to do that is have outrageous things that nobody actually believes, or very few believe. They're so fucking outrageous, that people will come and listen because it's just absurd. And of course, what happens as a result of this, you get more further left and further right. And so you end up with, like, CNN. And they use CNN as an example. Now, CNN has always been fake news. There's the Gulf War incident. Matter of fact, let's go. Let's show that. CNN green screen fake news. Go for it. Green screen, go for it. We'll show a brief little bit of this.
CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me. Just came up.
Notice the blue screen's background.
Specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
They turned the sirens on. Just wait. Gas mask and a. They tried to pass us off too. It's real.
Okay. All right. My apologies, but he's putting on a gas mask. There hasn't been any gas dropped here that we could tell. No. You may smell some of the fumes from a missile exhaust going on.
Okay. Yeah. No. So anyway, they've always been fake news, but at the very least, their centrism, because they used to be semi-centrist, was a little bit bit apparent, and now they're just as far left as MSNBC. But what's deceitful about it is they still try to deceive people in that they're the center. They try to shift that Overton window over. Like MSNBC and Fox, at the very least, at the face, we know what their positions are. Like, we know that they're not trying to be deceitful. But like, so that's one of the reasons why CNN has such plummeting ratings. You know, it's the ratings of CNN are plummeting faster than TV is as a whole. So they're like really tanking fast. You know. I also talk about like the New York Times. Like Jordan Peterson's book wasn't on the New York Times bestseller because it was, I guess, published in Canada or some such crap, and they have some rules where they have to be published in the United States, despite other New York Times bestsellers not being published in the United States or something like that. I didn't quite follow that, but I also don't really tend to pick up books. And I have read Jordan Peterson's book, but that's an aside. I have not read Maps of Meaning because it's not something I'm particularly interested in. But I think they're absolutely right. And these long-form interviews are illuminating. Like I mentioned in the other video, the intellectual dark web. Like, it's so stupid sounding, but like, you look at this. This video has 2 million views. You know, from just some dude. Like, he's a professor and he's written some stuff. But and then on the other side of it, it's a comedian and an MMA guy. And he also did Fear Factor, I think it was. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? And then, you know, you have like people like Adam Carolla and Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin and, you know, I forget their names. Some of the other cats that are part of the... I can see their faces. They had that married couple that was... they left that college. That's a kind of a mischaracterized description of what happened to them. But anyway, you have this like emergence of really good ideas and thinkers, and they're from all sorts of positions, you know. Oh, get yourself the bottle. Get your bottle. My dog has a bottle. He likes chewing on them. Get it, bud. Anyway, and yeah, I'm really happy because I despise the media. I think they're the most dishonest. It is the most dishonest profession. It is they're worse than lawyers and politicians. And this sort of talk is way more valuable than anything that the media's put out in like the last 40 years. Just about that short format 6-minute thing is awful. Like in Tucker Carlson, I think, is capitalizing the best he can on this by just showcasing how with a face. All he has to do is just do a face and ask a couple of questions, you know. And I think that's the only effective use of that short format, because it gets to like a quick truth. Of course, he tends to have people on that just have kind of absurd ideas. And yes, it is on the right side of things, but at the same, come here, bud. Get your bot. Oh. There you go. Get it. Arr, arr. But anyway, I like Jordan Peterson. I think he's on to something with this media thing, and I'm hoping that it's the death knell of the clickbait, of the dishonest, the editing. Oh, how awful is editing! What a deceitful thing, you know. Something that movies do to make it look good and to make it flow better. That, you know, journalists use as a means to misrepresent people. Anyway, that's about it.